Hey, what's up? My name is Nelson. I'm the Living Card Gamer, and today we are taking a look at one of the newest heroes in Marvel Champions, Ghost Spider from the Sinister Motives campaign box. Before we start talking about Ghost Spider, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, it goes a huge way in helping me put out more living card game content. Alrighty, so I just finished playing 4 games with Ghost Spider against Venom. So that's one of the new villains from the Sinister Motives box, and I absolutely loved her. So spoiler alert, this is going to be a pretty upbeat video because Ghost Spider was awesome. So, Ghost Spider is all about readying her after playing a response or an interrupt on an event. And you can do this once per phase. And so, ideally, you want to try and trigger it in the villain phase with her defense, with being 3, it's really great, and also in your player phase after you attacked or thwarted or done something else. The majority of her kit is interrupt or responses, and there's a way that you can kind of set yourself up the future, which we'll get into here in a second. One card that I do want to call out is her economy card, which is her web bracelets. So this is a card that says you can exhaust web bracelets and draw a card after playing an interrupt or a response. So not only do you get to ready Ghost Spider, you then also get to draw a card. So these are really good. They're a lot better than I thought they were going to be just coming out of the gate. You get 2 of them. You can only trigger 1 off of each response. One of the things that I really liked about Ghost Spider is that because most of her kit cards are responses or interrupts, you can play them after you defend during the villain phase, because they have a trigger that says after you use one of your basic powers, you can play this card, and then you can trigger your abilities as well as your web bracelets. And so like a Phantom Flip or a Ghost Kick are 2 cards from her kit that help with threat mitigation as well as damage, and this can be done during the villain phase. And so when you do that, you can have it set up so if you don't necessarily have like a defense event or something that you want to play as an interrupt, you can trigger a Ghost Kick and deal 6 damage during the villain phase and then ready yourself right back up. So if you have one of those cards in your hand or under the support, George, then you get basically 3 defend, which is incredibly good. One of the cards that I really enjoyed including in all of her decks, minus her protection deck, is Warning. So this is a 0-cost basic card that says anytime you would take damage, you can reduce that damage by 1. This is an interrupt, and so you are able to trigger her readying ability for 0 cost, which is incredibly good. She has a card in her kit called Ticket to the Multiverse. So this is a 2 wild resource generator. So you can do that, or you can play it as an upgrade. It's a 3-cost upgrade, and it says you can remove it from the game and discard your hand, shuffle your discard pile into your deck, and draw back up to your hand size and ready each Ghost Spider card in play. So this is incredibly powerful. It basically gives you an entire another turn before the villain phase even activates, and so you can really kind of rush the villain right there at the end, and it's a really fun kind of balance on how do you want to use it for your resources, or do you want to throw it onto the table. In my solo plays, I didn't actually get it onto the table ever. I used it for the 2 wild resources. That is such a good economy card for her because all of her kit basically costs 2, and so it was really easy to trigger whatever I needed to and just beat the villain through that way. She does have a signature support called George Stacy, which you can exhaust George Stacy to attach an event to him, and then you can play it from there as if it was in your hand. So this allows you to plan and set up for a lot of flexibility. So if you want to use like a Phantom Flip, however there's only 2 threat on the main scheme, you can throw it onto George Stacy and let her wait until you actually need to use it to, max out that 5 threat removal. With this, it does come as a double-edged sword because her obligation is very tough. Her Worried Father obligation says that you basically attach it to George Stacy and set it aside out of play. That discards all the cards under George, so it can be really rough if it's loaded up to its maximum of 3 cards. You're basically losing 3 cards, and that was just very, very, very difficult and just painful whenever I drew that. That was tough. Okay, so what I did is I played through 4 games with her, 1 through each of the aspects, and now we're going to go through and we're going to rank each one of those from my least favorite to my favorite, and then we're going to add her into our ever-growing tier list of Marvel Champions heroes. So let's go ahead and dive into it. In 4th place, I had Justice. So with her, I don't really like flipping all of that much. She has an interesting, however not super powerful ability. She's able to shuffle Ticket to the Multiverse. I called it Sentinel to the Multiverse in one of the videos, so that's kind of what's on my mind. But Ticket to the Multiverse back into our deck, or Ready George Stacy, which can be situationally very good. So if you have a very thin deck and you're about to shuffle, it would be great to shuffle that back in. However, I just didn't find myself flipping that often, especially with our high defense and being able to ready during the villain phase. I found myself defending and not really taking a lot of damage. She does have some good threat mitigation already with her Phantom Flip, and so I didn't ever find that threat was a huge issue with her. I would be interested to see on some of the lower threat threshold main schemes how that would come into play, but really it just wasn't an issue. And also the last reason why this is in 4th place is there aren't a huge amount of interrupts or responses in the Justice aspect, and so we'll probably see more as the card pool expands, but as of today there really aren't that many targets for that to get her ability to trigger. Already in 3rd place, we had Leadership. So again, not a lot of interrupts or responses here. However, there are some fun cards that kind of make it just slightly better than Justice for me. So I like Teamwork, which is the card where it's an interrupt and you can exhaust an ally and add their attack or thwart to your basic power. Because this is an interrupt, you get to ready Ghost Spider right back up. So that makes it, a lot more interesting, and you're able to kind of put some of those allies onto the table, like a Wonder Man, who has a really expensive cost in order to attack. However, you can just use Teamwork and not need to pay that cost, get that +3 to your attack, and then ready right back up. Last Stand is also a fun card here. So it's a +3 attack, and you discard the ally after the activation, which is a tough payment. However, maybe it's on its last health or something, but it is a interrupt, so you get to ready Ghost Spider after you play a Last Stand, as long as it's your first ready during that phase. In 2nd place, I had Aggression. So I thought Aggression was super fun to see how many activations you could actually get. So like Skilled Strike and Mean Swing are really cheap events, so they're both 0-cost events, and they add to your basic attack. So Skilled Strike gives you a +2 whenever you make a basic attack, and it's an interrupt, and so you get to ready Ghost Spider. Or Mean Swing, if you have a weapon, you can exhaust Mean Swing, give you +3, which also allows you to ready Ghost Spider. And these are a lot of fun because it allows for that extra damage, and then you can swing right back. So just like with a Mean Swing, you swing for 2. With a Mean Swing that goes to 5, you can ready an attack right back just with a 7. Then you throw in the new Peter Parker Spider-Man basic ally, and you get to ready again. And so it was just like a lot of fun to get a lot of these activations and just kind of rush through the villain. I mean, it was a pretty strong strategy. She was great for Yarmyorn. So if you are able to run a lot of physical resources in your deck, she is getting a lot of activations, especially with that Spider-Man ally in there. So it's just like a lot of damage. So if you can pay for it with all those physical resources from your hand, or maybe from like an enhanced physique, it can rush pretty quickly. And I thought that Aggression was just like a really fun, strong aspect for her. And then finally, my favorite aspect to play her in was Protection, which is probably what she was built around. So defense events are all responses and or interrupts, and so you get to ready her after playing one. So this is effectively Quicksilver. You get to ready right after you defend. However, you do have to play a card, but there are so many options for you to choose from, and she has that 3 defense stat, so it's going to be really easy to run a perfect defense strategy. So I found myself running like Defiant or other 0-cost defense events, just so you can easily get that defend and that event on there, so you can pop right back up, and that gives you the ability to go into your player phase ready, which is one of the downsides of Protection, is not necessarily being able to have the flexibility of deciding what you're going to do on the hero phase. Flow Like Water is a fantastic upgrade for her because she always wants to be playing these events. Flow Like Water triggers whenever you play a defense event, and it can, does ping 1 damage. I mean, it's a very, very strong combo. You run a huge amount of defense events and you run Flow Like Water, and you can really be doing a lot of damage on the villain phase. One of the downsides to green typically is trying to figure out how to mitigate the threat on side schemes. However, her signature card Phantom Flip is not limited to the main scheme, so it protects against that weakness. So if you have a side scheme that comes out that has 4, 5, 6 threat on it, you can pretty easily thwart that, especially if you have it sitting there under George. Really, I mean, it just covers that weakness for her. I think green was super strong, super fun for her, and I'm really looking forward to playing her more in Protection. So where does she fall in the overall rank of Marvel Champions heroes? heroes. I think she is definitely a B tier. I think with more responses, more interrupts, and some of the other, like the leadership and the justice aspect, she can kind of get up to that A tier. But right now she's a B tier. I think she is definitely stronger than Star-Lord, so we're going to drop her right in to the left of Star-Lord in the B tier. I absolutely loved Ghost Spider. She is by far easily one of my favorite heroes that has come out recently or that is in Marvel Champions at all. I want to say that she's probably going to be in my top 5. I need to play her a little bit more just to kind of see how that lines up, but awesome. Excellent design. Huge amount of fun. Cannot wait to play her more. What was your favorite aspect with Ghost Spider? I liked a lot of them. I liked all of them. I really did like all of them. They all kind of make you think about deck building a little bit differently because you value those interrupts and responses even more than you normally would. And so their decks look a little bit different than the normal deck or the typical leadership deck. And so it's always kind of fun to see how those shake out. And I'm really excited to see how they look once the card pool expands even more. If you want, I'm doing this series with all of the heroes and Marvel Champions. So if you want, go ahead and vote for who I play next. That's going to be in the video description. You can find a link where you can go in and vote, and we'll see who gets to the table next. Until next time, thank you all for hanging out. Enjoy Ghost Spider, enjoy Sinister Motives, and I will talk to you very soon. Peace.